Welcome back to Eleum, Loyce. Now, I feel I should give full disclosure here. I made a slight mistake while recording this. The game crashed right after I opened the gate to the right of that bonfire. So I apologize for not getting that on camera, but I assure you, it was not a particularly special gate. Beyond the gate is a very difficult room. With the disheveled retainers now fully online and ready to kill us, things get a little bit more difficult around the city. The ice soldiers are still as active as ever, and given that they can still shoot their own ice magic, there's a pretty big risk of just getting clocked by some spell or other just by moving through the room. So a cautious approach is effective. I would take care of the retainers first, simply because they're weaker. You don't need to invest as much stamina into taking them down quickly as you do the soldiers. Judicious use of just backing up is also pretty effective. Oh no. We actually haven't had an invasion yet. The DLC areas, as you might have noticed, are actually pretty rotten with NPC invasions. Which is honestly fine by me. They're always interesting. Especially Maldron. I think we're done with him. We defeated him quite soundly back in Broom Tower. Now, two of these spiky crystal guys at once is... it's a bit of a tall order. Probably one of the more difficult encounters in this entire DLC, I would say. At least for me personally. Maybe other people find it really easy. Once they're alone, it's not so difficult, but getting them to the point where you can focus on one at a time takes a lot of kiting back and nimble footwork. We haven't yet seen Holy Knight Aurheim. I wonder where he got to. We can now see through the storm fairly well, but interesting. We can see through the storm fairly well with the Priestess's Eye, but that doesn't change the fact that a lot of stuff is still frozen over here. These messages are making me paranoid. What the? Okay. So, like a lot of invaders in the DLC, Holy Knight Aurheim has a gimmick. And his gimmick is he uses a silver talisman. It's honestly really funny the first time you encounter it. It's a really good invasion. As far as actually fighting goes, he's nothing particularly special. He fights similarly to Quicksword Rachel. But since he doesn't enchant his weapon or anything, he mostly relies on the element of surprise, which is somewhat unbecoming of a holy knight. Appropriately enough, in the chest are a bundle of silver talismans for our own use. I've been noticing that I've been taking a bit of damage more than I would like here, so I decided to unequip the embedded ring. Taking that path leads us right back to the beginning of the entire place. Now that we have the Priestess's Eye and can see the unseen, it might be time to revisit that boss that gave us so much trouble earlier. Not before a quick rest at the bonfire, though. decide to go for some pyromancy spells instead of Resonant Soul. It gives me a couple more options since they require less attunement slots, and there's also the consideration that I believe the upcoming boss slightly resists dark. Or maybe it doesn't, I don't know. Resistances in this game are sort of all over the place. All I know is that Great Combustion is just a pretty strong spell all around. Dance of Fire, not so much, but I figured I should show it off at least some point. Time for a rematch. Since we were fortunate enough not to die in the interim, our souls are still there from the first time we faced this boss. Now that we can see her, we can see that Aava's true form is that of a large snow tiger. She's not a hugely difficult fight, I don't think. But things can go wrong pretty quickly. Mostly what you have to be aware of with Aava is the fact that she can cover immense distances very quickly, either by leaping or by using her ranged projectile homing soul mass attack. You generally want to be closer to her than not, though you can definitely still run into trouble if you get hit by her many and varied paw swipes. With that in mind, I've found that the Helix Halberd is better for most bosses than the Santier Spear. The Santier Spear isn't bad by any means, it's just that when you're fighting a boss like Aava or the Fume Knight or what have you, the ability to do a lot of damage in one single strike is pretty valuable. So the Helix Halberd is pretty much tailor-made for the task. One thing to note in this fight that can be slightly troublesome is that the storm is still raging, so when Aava gets far away from you, she can actually be kind of hard to see if you're not paying close attention. She's weakest at her sides, like a lot of bosses, though I would actually say she's probably weaker at the back. It's just that she's so long compared to a lot of enemies, it's difficult to get behind there. The best chance you have is actually when she summons her Crystal Soul Mass. Now, even when you think you're in a blind spot, she can retaliate with a Crystal Shockwave. It's not telegraphed particularly well, and it's also accompanied by that attack, which is sort of like Firestorm if Firestorm was made of crystal. It's kind of cool. Having a sorcery-type Firestorm would be pretty useful, I think. Oh, right. At this point in the fight, I actually start panicking a little bit. It's been a long time since I've had to deal with my weapons breaking in the middle of anything. So, not only do I forget that those projectiles can go through the statues, I'm sort of scrambling around trying to figure out which weapon I want to switch to real quick to finish the fight off. I remember that I have some pyromancy on hand, and I somewhat frantically try to apply it. And I also gravely misjudged the distance that can cover. momentum, I would say, is a pretty big thing in these games. Simply feeling like you're doing a good job and in the zone, as it were, can really help you. And when that gets disrupted by something stupid, as it often will, especially in this game, where weapons can break for no reason, then I at least can get thrown off my game quite severely. Her grab is not an instant kill, though it is quite painful. She's actually proving quite difficult to actually nail with the combustion. That leaves me with Dance of Fire, which I have no idea why I equipped in retrospect because it's kind of shitty. This is probably one of the more severe drawbacks of having a build that puts you right under equipment load cap. If your weapon breaks, then you have to go into the menu and manually switch to something else that you don't have equipped. I don't think I hit with a single Dance of Fire. Oh, that one did, because she stayed still, but even when it did, it was not particularly impressive. I decided that now is the best time to take my chance. Anything is better than a broken weapon, more or less. I'm going to need to be better about having repair powder on my hotbar so this doesn't happen. With Aava dead, the way is clear. Though neither of these doors... There's only one. This door does not appear to lead anywhere, because it's not openable from that side. It seems that Aava is guarding the Grand Cathedral, which, judging by the condition of that statue's head, has probably seen better days. There's a bonfire here, which is always welcome. Though I will need to actually go back to Majula to repair my stupid frickin' Helix halberd with the durability of 2.
This land is barren, cursed by the old chaos. It gave birth to atrocities, and the people fled in fear. Until our Lord, the Ivory King, came. My dear Lord, a most true king. It was with his magnificent soul that he built Eleum Loyce and contained the spread of chaos. But the chaos would not be sated, And the king gave his own soul. Inevitably, the king was drained of vigor and plunged into the chaos's heart. Eleum Loyce was frozen in time, its leader lost. I remain here to contain the chaos, honoring my lord's wishes. Perhaps one day he will return. There is nothing here save that accursed flame. I have but one wish. That my dear lord might be free from that unspeakable chaos. I haven't had strength to help him myself. But perhaps one such as you. Though I am yet to know your name, stranger, will you lend me your strength?
Have no fear, Hal is on the job.
Visitor, I thank you. Let me open the path to chaos. And please, do all you can.
Ha ha.
Many of Eleum Loyce's faithful knights followed their lord into the chaos. But not one of them returned. The king's dutiful subjects waited patiently for his homecoming. But it was too long a wait to bear. The knights of Eleum Loyce await a new leader. One who will guide them into chaos. Many of them, one.
Well, looks like we have a new objective now. Turns out that maybe if we just talk to people instead of just immediately sticking a spear in them, things would go a little bit better. Then again, most of the inhabitants of Drang Lake and the surrounding areas aren't too keen on conversation. That way lies the final boss of this area, and we could access it now if we so desired. However, that would be quite foolish, for you see, the winds of Eleum Loyce have ceased, and much like this treasure chest, the things that have been covered in ice are now uncovered. The Vessel Shield is a unique shield that doesn't have very good defenses, but will instead boost most of your primary stats by a fairly significant margin. If you're not into blocking, but you have room for a shield in your build, then it's definitely something you can consider. It also looks pretty cool. Next time we will set about exploring the now, somewhat at least, unfrozen Eleum Loyce. There are quite a few new paths and treasures available to us, so look forward to it. Until then, bundle up.